We were open to substantive talks. Then the Foreign Ministry issued a statement saying that if the Polish side considered the military channel alone to be insufficient, the Foreign Ministry could also join. What did the Polish side do? Instead of responding professionally to our proposals, which are perfectly in line with all the cooperation mechanisms designed for such situations, they rushed to Brussels to invoke Article 4, and, in fact, acted today in the same vein, waving around some obscure photographs with some drones. This all shows that the Polish approach to such incidents is part of an orchestrated propaganda campaign to put pressure on Russia. Our Western counterparts are using the OSCE as a tool in this very hybrid war waged against us. Essentially, the crisis facing the OSCE is not the fault of the OSCE being imperfect in some way, since it is an organization that should be concerned with security and cooperation. The reason is that the West is trying to use it as a tool in its fight against the Russian Federation, as a tool to inflict strategic defeat on us, as a tool to demonstrate that the West is united and Russia is isolated. But these attempts, by the way, are doomed to failure. So, I would like to emphasize once again that if and when Western policy changes, then the OSCE will have the chance to survive. If the West continues to use the OSCE as it does today, it will have no chance to survive. This is because the organization itself will lose its relevance. It will no longer be of interest to states and members. Western delegations attempted to Ukrainianize the agenda, and any issues, even those unrelated to the Ukraine conflict and its origins, are primarily approached from a Ukrainian perspective. This resulted not only in a distortion of the Helsinki principles, but also in the OSCE becoming narrow-minded. That is, the OSCE's agenda became narrower, and even in areas where the OSCE has both a mandate and certain potential, there is no real progress or real discussion because it is poisoned with the Ukrainian narrative. There were about 30 ministers here, and I can assure you that all of them understand what is happening. The calls for peace from many countries were particularly absurd in this sense, as they set conditions for peace that made it impossible to achieve. During our speech today, we pointed out that at all peace process stages, during which attempts could have produced results, NATO and the European Union sought to disrupt the peace process. Today, the prospects for peace in Ukraine are viewed as a threat to the West and its position in the world. And, incidentally, Western countries do not hide this on other platforms. We recalled that, when summing up the summit in The Hague, the NATO Secretary-General openly stated that NATO's task was to keep Ukraine in the fight. They couldn't have put it more bluntly. It is perfectly clear to us that the G8 may have once been a club bringing together countries that were leaders in the global economy, but today the situation has changed. You know that the combined potential of the BRICS countries is higher than that of the G8. There has been a decline in the overall economic share of GDP in the global economy. If we take our European friends, for example, until very recently the European Union's share of GDP in the global economy exceeded 20%. Now it is 14% and is steadily heading towards 11%. The financial situation is dire. The total public debt of all European Union countries is 83% of annual GDP. In some countries, including large ones such as Italy and France, it is more than 100%. The French will soon be paying twice as much in interest as they allocate to military needs. It should also be noted that the United States has persuaded, in fact forced, its European allies to increase their military spending by 5%. If they fulfill this promise, it means that another $1 trillion a year will be withdrawn from the global economy. These are enormous sums, and Europe has no money. If there is no money, unless they steal our assets there and resort to outright theft, the European Union countries will have no financial base not only for sustainable development, but even for keeping their pants on, which are starting to fall off their economies. We know that Ukraine's unmanned naval vehicles have been carrying out targeted attacks on civilian ships near the Turkish coast over the past 3 days. The Russian president has given a clear statement on this piracy and robbery act. No one here cares about that. I mean, no one who is trying to use the OSCE for hybrid warfare and who is trying to continue to fill this platform with all kinds of myths and demonize Russia is interested. Many people simply, I would say, spoke about the aggressive nature of Russia in such an absurd way. Kaja Kallas, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, has greatly contributed to reinforcing this absurdity on this platform, who once again brought up the idea in her opening speech that Russia had attacked various countries 19 times over the last 100 years, many of them 3 or 4 times. This situation is actually very dangerous because Europe is moving towards a Cold War, where aggressive military planning is combined with aggressive politics. It is hard to imagine who in the West will be able to make the political decisions needed to stop this machine and turn it around.